All right, we are live. Let me just click on this here on Twitter, let everybody know, in case they're not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and click subscribe. What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a great weekend. Goodness, it went really fast. Maybe it's because there's less daylight during the day, where it feels like it goes by really fast. But whatever the case is, it just flew by, and I can't believe it is already Sunday night. So, anyway, pretty amazing start to the futures today. Started down in the red, and then I've already kind of reversed up in the green here. So we'll see how that ends up at the open. A lot of these days we've been seeing it being quite the opposite as it is throughout the night. But definitely a good thing to keep an eye on. And if we gap up tomorrow, we'll have a game plan ready, and if we gap down tomorrow, we'll have a game plan ready, and even if we're neutral, we'll have a game plan ready. So, not a lot of double inside days. We had a pretty big move on Friday, so the only double inside days I honestly found were all REITs, which is kind of interesting. The overall REIT ETFs didn't go inside day, although their body candles did. The real body candles did, but their shadows, their wicks went outside. So, but I just thought that was kind of interesting, something to keep an eye on to see if retail investment trusts have some sort of direction this week at all. Kind of tweeted all the fangs out in the indexes earlier. Mostly everything just kind of dripped down a little bit on Friday. There was some increased volume. If you think about it, over between Wednesday and Thursday, Friday got some volume pickup and had mostly a red day. So we'll see if these green futures here can give the market some traction. As we know, just kind of broad perspective on the S&P cash, on the SPX. We've been dealing with this channel all year. And for the most part, has been other than the February time frame, and then another one back in April. We had a pretty solid move up here throughout the year, and then boom, back down. September, October. Then we had November lows, and now we're back in December retesting those lows at the channel. And twice we've actually come out of the channel, and the last time we've come out of the channel is Friday. So the real question is, do we get some continuation, some downside follow through? Is the market going to just really puke into the end of the year, or is this just another fake out? And are we going to go long? Little Santa Claus rally into the end of the year, or of course the other alternative is we just chop. And traditionally, what I've seen is that it's really tough to trade the week before Christmas. A lot of people go on vacation. You don't get as much volume, a lot of action. But I've also been proved longer a lot this year on Fridays. Fridays usually those same type of choppy days where they're pinning option expirations, things like that. So the end of this year may actually be the opposite too. So it's very possible we'll get some direction one way or another. Either way, we'll try to capitalize on it. So real quick, just want to highlight a couple things from Friday. We had a couple good ones, a couple interesting ones I just kind of want to touch on. Our 15 orbs that we were looking at, Starbucks, had some negative type news and everything. It was looking like it was gapping down. This is, normally I don't recommend trading reversals, but it is something you can look at, especially if there's something relevant on a larger time frame. But Starbucks actually gave a good reversal. We were looking for it to the downside on a break of this 15-minute orb here. Obviously, it never happened. It just kind of flushed to the downside, came back up, and a reversal could have been attempted to the upside here, 64, 69, all the way up a point right there at the open. So, something to look at. Obviously, didn't hold very well. Kind of drifted back in. Just kind of chopped for the rest of the day. Adobe, was on the 15 orb list. I don't think it really did anything. It's kind of just just kind of did nothing. You could have picked it up at the end of the day, and picked up a point at the end of the day if you were stalking it all day. Costco, we all know is just a phenomenal move. 15-minute orb on this one. I was looking for a potential reversal, right, because it was a long-term support. Was here at least through the summer, right? Because it test, fail, right? So I was thinking there was a chance for a reversal, but just by going off the 15 orb, it did nothing what that Starbucks orb looked like, right? Starbucks came down and just kind of ripped back up. This came down, came up a little bit, and then when you just watch the price action, right? Starbucks came up, turned green, then launched, right? This one red, stayed red, broke down, and if you had the patience, right? This was good for just that 15-minute orb there. It was good for about 7 points, 6.5 points, all the way into the end of the day. So that was a pretty huge move. Couple that are going to show up on the 30 orb list for tomorrow. One is going to be Johnson & Johnson, who has a lot of explaining to do over the selling asbestos-related talcum powder, or knowing about it for the last 10 years to our children. And so we'll most likely gap down tomorrow, and will hopefully be punished until it's completely delisted for such atrocities. But that being said, news came out. Got a tweet from our community on that. Of course, gave credit there, and this still could have been traded, right? And traded with some emotion too. 15 orb went inside 15 after that, which we like that. We've seen that a lot of times, right? So it goes 15 orb. You could have traded that inside 15 too and picked up a little extra, and then look at that, just kind of launched down. And you'll see, I was stalking this one for a while when I noticed that the CEO sold $38 million, worth of shares back here when I was stalking this kind of wave 5 area, and I caught that drop. Now this one, the news they had at that time was like one of their pharma things didn't hit whatever, failed, whatever the case was. And so I thought this was, I was looking here, this pivot here, kind of a wave 5 up, ended up kind of playing out pretty well down. And I was looking for A, B, right? A, B, C, right? So this would be an expanded flat. And then obviously this wave C played out extremely well. And not only so, I was like tweeting this out in real time. We had these pitchforks already in place. This was this one here was a pitchfork from these two pivots, right? So that was the first target. Then it hit this target here, so it kind of cleaned through the entire pitchfork range between those two pivots, right? Hit a reaction line right off of this. Then the next one was a larger time frame pitchfork, which was here, which is off of these two pivots, right? That's why it helps keep these drawings on. And look at that. Basically hit that middle range of that pitchfork to the tick, and then bounce back up, right? So lots of shorts covering into the weekend, et cetera, et cetera. We'll keep this on the 30 orb watch list for tomorrow, and hope that it just kind of gets all the way to zero, honestly. But hopefully, we'll keep an eye on it anyway. So it should be to watch on the 30 orb list. So we'll see relative to the direction of the futures and the overall market if that continues to fail. So of course everybody came out to defend it the other day, saying no, this is lies, not true, and all that stuff. So they better come up with a real and true story that protects themselves. Otherwise, they ought to take the blame and remove the product from the shelves if that's the case. But anyway, so that should hurt the overall kind of biotech sector, in my opinion. Merck was on the 15 orb list too. This could have been traded as well. Obviously not as dramatic, but it's also not as expensive as some of the other stocks. So you don't get as big percentage move or a big dollar move, but you still get a percentage move. 77.33-ish, right? Could have, you had an inside 15 here. You could have traded that there to the downside and never would have gotten stopped out. And so just say 77.50 all the way down to 76.23. So a good point off of Merck there. They just had big acquisition news, so spending billions of dollars on something. So we'll see how it holds up on Monday off of the 30 orb on that. And from there, the only other one I've got is on the 15 orb list right now is INCY, INCY. It's going to they just kind of made the weekend news list. They're going to be able to like sell some of their drugs or something like that in China. So, but huge market, right? Could get some volatility tomorrow off of the 15 orb. So just keep an eye on that tomorrow. Obviously, it trades a little crazy. So just looking at this one here from from Friday's 15 orb, would have gotten just crazy. That's why you gotta, once you get profitable, don't get lazy. Move that stop up to profit and preserve your profits, right? So this thing doesn't like tick you out, right? So just be careful with that one. Looks like it's going to be a little wild. You got a couple other ones to look at too, but in the meantime, this is actually a pretty good opportunity here to talk about what I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about the the tweezer setup, TWEEZER, the tweezer setup. So a tweezer setup is basically you have 2 bars, and it could be more, or it could be 3 or more, but as long as they have the same value, right, at their top of these at the top of their shadows, right? These are off by a penny. I don't trade the tweezer setup too much, but I do want to point it out to you. That is a a candlestick, Japanese candlestick setup. So here you can see as you're going up, right, you have 2 bars, one green followed by a red one. Both they're off by a penny, but both kind of top tick the same size. You can short this. If you're aggressive, you could do it right after it clicks it, right? Or you could do it as soon as you know it becomes red, or ultimately you could do it at the bottom of the bar and then just keep your stop up here. Then when it moves down, move your stop to profit. So I mean, not a huge move, but just showing that you could have made 30 cents potentially off of that tweezer, right? And you can do it at the bottom from the bottom side too. So just kind of start to keep note of those. I wanted to show. I did a just kind of a search on any stocks that had a tweezer setup too, and this WEC, I don't recommend trading this stock. I've never traded it before. It does, I don't know how spready it is, but the options look abominable. I mean, you got like $1.20 spreads, and their strikes are $5 apart. So I mean, obviously, if this thing moved, it could do quite well. But you can see here that it kind of tweezered up here. These two bars, the high of this bar was 75.31. That was a green bar, and this one was a red bar, and the high is 75.31. So this is a true tweezer, right? They're both the exact same price up top. So you might want to. I just put an alert here to keep an eye on this. We'll keep an eye on see how this ends up trading. Obviously, it was in a nice kind of uptrend here, and this is an indication of a reversal trade, right? So so just look there, and we'll see how much downside it gets after that tweezer setup. So keep WEC kind of on your watch list. In fact, I'll add it to the week list. I'm not saying necessarily straight trade it, just saying keep an eye on it, just so we can kind of stalk and see how that does. But you can look at other time frames too, right? So I wanted to kind of just show you the hourly time frame here. I tweeted out the other day that Facebook was an inside day. Looked like it might try to break here. Facebook sometimes tries several times to break, and then if it doesn't, you got to catch it at the right time, right? So this, especially on these inside days, right, guys? Like if obviously we came down, the trade would have been the way we traded AMD on Friday. Kind of came down, and then when it reclaimed that inside day range, that was your trade. And that's what I was saying about AMD. I was like, look, you can trade it on a double inside day, break to the upside, but after it has so much movement throughout the day, they get kind of tired, right? So you can't just expect these things to go forever, right? So the real trade was down here. We were trading AMD at the time, which was going great. But yeah, Facebook would have been a trade into the inside day range, not the double inside day range, but the inside day range, and would have been pretty good. But you can see here, your high here was 146.01, and this hit 146, right? So you had green bar to red bar, and then it would have been a little tricky to trade here, but certainly could have attempted this as an hourly tweezer setup, and a break here at the downside, 144, and actually at one point 144.95 down to 144. So you could have probably made like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 cents off of this just on this tweezer setup here. So kind of just keep that in your arsenal and your toolkit. Anytime you see these things really tick either exactly the same or really close within like a penny or so of each other. This is literally a penny apart. I'm pretty strict on the double inside days, but on these, I think you can give yourself a penny or two. Obviously, a true tweezer would be the exact same tick, but you can at least observe it and kind of look for those type of trends when that's happening, right? So for reversals. So that was the pretty much the candlestick setup I wanted to talk about today. I tweeted out a couple. So that's the tweezer setup. So keep that in your arsenal. I tweeted out a couple ideas. Obviously, I was thinking kind of Apple is kind of longish. I prefer it to come down and hit 163 again. I'll show you why. Apple is in the midst of I think a fifth wave down on an impulse wave, so it's bound to get a reversal. I thought it did it here, and it kind of came back in, but it's really possible it never completed its fifth wave down. So it may have some further movement. So it's possible it could retest this 163 level, hit the pitchfork again, and then go back up. So I'm kind of watching that, and alongside of it pulls back in a little bit. And Nvidia, kind of the opposite. Nvidia has been just relatively weak, and I really did think that we could be testing the lower end of this pitchfork. So let me just show you. Yeah, see how it's kind of been coiling as it's been going down this median line. If it can't get any power here, and I think it could see some downside movement into the end of the year. AVGO is something to keep an eye on tomorrow. I've got a topping tail pattern that formed. We looked at this one, right? Like right after earnings, we did a 15 orb on this. Look how much it moved. Then we did a 30 orb. It was on the 30 orb list. It's kept on going, gapping, going. Now it looks like it's got an island top up here, and it actually corresponds. So it looks like we have a pivot pretty close to pitchfork support. So I'm looking for some further downside, possibly into the end of the year. So definitely something to look at here. Let me show you what it looks like on the daily, on the candlestick chart. There. So here. Right, inverted hammer, spinning top, followed by one more shooting star setup, which is bearish. That tail takes out. Oh, what do we got here? Looks like some tweezers too, potentially. I mean, they're off by 9 cents, but this is a $250 stock, right? So let's look at this too as a potential tweezer setup as well. Okay, reversal after a big move. So this is going on the short list for tomorrow. So we'll see how that set up. And this will be great, especially if we're gapping up a little bit. So we come up in here as we start to look for this to the downside. Might look for some options to play. I mean, it might hang out, might stop at this the 5MA, but it might come back and touch the 8 and the 10 here at 240. So 242-ish, and then the 20 is just below there. So it looks like it might be keyed up for a reversal. Again, you could get a 4-point move down to 250. The ideal move would be 242. Even if it did it in the next 2 weeks, 242 and a half, so $3. So I don't know. It's pretty expensive. We got no volume on that at all on Friday. Goodness gracious. No volume on Friday. So, but you got some increased volume here as well. So maybe the 240s trading at about 275. Right, might be a double if you can get in the money on that. So just something to keep an eye on. It's kind of expensive. Well, the stock's expensive, so the options are expensive. So you know how it goes. Implied volatility is relatively low, so that's good. So you're not paying full price for premium. So just keep an eye on that. And then the only other one I had was Yelp. Just something to keep an eye on. Yelp, another kind of topping tail. Not as good, I think, as AVGO reversal, but you can see here this tried to get back in the gap. It's been trying. We traded this off of the 15 orb, the 30 orb. This is a really strong reversal play. It just this one corresponded, as I recall, with another gap over here, and that's why this was such a good reversal. Did it close that gap yet? Low 37.85, high 37.09. So it tried to close that gap and couldn't do it. So let's see. Just keep an eye on it. Obviously, if it goes the other way, if it takes this tie out, then you're looking at least for an 80-cent move. So just kind of think about that. If you get a tail fail to the upside, you might want to close that prior gap that was back there and then go to the upside. So look for tail fail up. So something to look at. So if we are gapping up tomorrow, this could, and we get some movement, this could give you some potential. And if it really gets strong, might fill that gap up there too. So one gap at a time, right? This gap first, that gap second. So that's all I got. So at this point, if anybody has any questions, any chart requests, feel free to type them in the chat window, and I'll be happy to go through those. What's going on, Thalasi? How's it going? Going good, man. Clayton, always a pleasure. Shirley, how are you? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Clayton, FedEx, awesome. Yeah, that's been kind of been on and off the radar, but careful with FedEx, just because its options, like you can be so right on the direction of it, but its options sometimes don't get a lot of action, don't get a lot of volume, and I don't know why. Like it's a pretty big popular. But see the volume on these. I mean, just not a lot. That's next week's, but still, even so, it's really not a lot, right? 100, 82. I mean, so these things will jump. You'll think you're really up in the stock, as it's moving. It's making really good movements. Say it moves a couple points in the stock, but like these options only move, like you're like, oh man, yeah, I'm up 50 cents in the option. Then you sell and you're only up you only make 10 cents on it. So just be careful with FedEx trading options on it. But yeah, I mean, it's been just super bearish. We've got earnings coming up this week, so that should be good. That should at least give us a 15 orb to trade this week, along with MU. Thanks guys for pointing that out earlier. Yeah, so you've got a here, basically got an inverted hammer almost, so could be looking for a potential reversal here, or this move might not be done yet. This could be a continuation pattern too. So there's a little gap to fill up here as well. So it should be pretty interesting, and might even try to get a little earnings run before earnings, but we'll see. Nothing's been really predictable, but I like how this volume has been increasing as it's been dropping. So keep an eye on this. Just also watch your implied volatility. It's pretty high, which means that your option premiums are higher than usual, which makes sense going up, getting pretty close to earnings. So it's also getting into kind of an oversold territory here on the RSI. So you may get a some potential for a bounce soon, but we'll see. Let's see if there's any pitchfork that could be done here. It is a new low. Let's see, this was a huge MACD bottom right here. We're getting some positive divergences here on stochastic and RSI. We'll see what this wants to do. I'm going to go crazy here, and I'm going to put it right there and say that we are going to test this low one more time, and then who knows, maybe we'll bounce and then fill a gap after earnings. I wouldn't trade it. I would look for the 15 orb and see what it does. Let's see longer term though. It looks like there's a gap down here. Yeah, there's a gap down here at 164.13. So that's $20 away, and if you go right now to this, we're looking at a $10 market maker move so far this week, and that'll probably go up a little bit. So, and we've seen a lot of times these market maker moves can sometimes double. So what I would look for, we got that here. So this is two gaps to fill. 164.13, and if it really wanted to, 144. So yeah, this is a great one to watch this week. I mean, if the market just gets horrible and like SPX starts really just going down and all that stuff, and this thing just fails on earnings, what I would look for is a spike up after hours on earnings, and then see if there's actually some bad numbers. If the market's doing really bad, it might be a good short after hours, to get a 40-point move or something like that, down to fill these gaps here. Again, like I said though, there is a gap above too, right? Off of the hourly chart at least. Let me see that low there. 212, high here, 198. So yeah, so there's a gap here as well, which is could be your 10-point move too to the upside. So just watch the price action and see how it goes. But definitely earnings will be a big tell on this one, and should give us some fun trading to do on Wednesday, which is cool. So at least we get a full trading week this week, so that should be fun. Anyway, so that's FedEx. Good chart on that one. Good thinking on that one. CTRE, Shirley. Let's see what we got going on here. So there we go. There's your REITs that we were just talking about. Let's see if this one did a double inside day. It did not. It did have an inside day, and then it kind of came up a little bit too. So it may want to retest these highs here. Let's see how the monthly candlestick. Monthly candlestick is putting in a monthly hammer. That would be a really strong close. A momentum hammer actually would be a really strong close for this for CareTrust. It did put in an inside week last week, which is pretty interesting. You can see what it did last inside week. When it broke that 1968 all the way up to 20, right? So over a 1-point move off of that. So we've got another inside week coming here. I'll put an alert on it. Inside week up. So I plop that on there. Let me put another alert here, just in just in case it fails. Okay, and then the ADX here is really bullish, right? So this shows it's in a true uptrend on the weekly, yeah, so this is a great one to look at. Daily, of course, as you always find, these awesome cup and handle breaks. So here's your cup, here's your handle, right? And so it broke 1850 and just kind of really worked its way up 2 points from there. So that catching that break would have been pretty solid. So this is definitely a good one to keep on your watch list, and good job on finding another awesome one, Shirley. I don't know if you trade all these in your IRA, but your IRA must be just doing awesome if that's the case. I mean, whatever your style is. Yeah, so, yeah, Clayton, are you talking about FedEx or the REITs? In the meantime, Shirley, DXD. Gosh, you find these awesome ones. Okay, so ProShares Trust. This is, what is that? Uldao? I didn't see what this is. I don't even know what it is. I don't really care, but you know, it is always interesting to know. ProShares Trust. Something. Okay, whatever it is, looks interesting. Does it get any volume? It looks like it's got increased volume here. It had nothing. You know, now it's getting, you know, in the millions. So whatever this thing is looking pretty interesting. Pretty solid downtrend since it's existed. What is this? It's like some sort of VIX product or something. I don't know, crazy. But looks like one of those ones that's guaranteed to go down forever. So I would look to short something like this. I would look to short any rallies. Got a ton of volume here. Yeah, this is what is it? I think this one wasn't telling me anything on DXD. Oh, it's an ultra short Dow. I gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so I guess like you know, efficient market theory and all that stuff. It's been you know, what if you're shorting the Dow Jones, right? Like it's been going up forever, but now it's starting to change. So that makes sense now. Yeah. So okay, so that kind of changes some sentiment a little bit, right? You look at the patterns, right? Every you know, you can almost short every spike on it. But yeah, if the market just just pukes, I mean, this thing could launch, right? So if not, you know, just go with what you see, you know, and just trade the price action on it. Look for inside bars, because look what it did here on the daily. Almost an inside bar here. But yeah, I mean, I would just kind of look at the those hourly charts here. Look kind of interesting. Hard to tell. Right? Yeah. See if it can break out. If not, you know, look to take it back in. Which, you know, if this goes down, then implies the market's going to go up for the rest of the year, which is possible, right? So just keep an eye on it, definitely. You have some RSI divergence. You know, and we talked about the other day how to trade like RSI breaks, right? So there's kind of like a break here. This looks like some pretty good RSI support, so it might be good. You know, look for a short on a breakdown under that RSI level, right? You can see here when this proved it had some pretty good RSI support. When it finally broke here, right, made a big gap and kind of came down. So one to keep an eye on. Oh, FedEx, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's at those support levels, but I think the earnings are gonna, Clayton, the earnings on FedEx are gonna make it move one way or another, right? So, GOL. ADR, right? Could be interesting. Looks like it did put in a pivot here, right? Right, because you can tell by the way it kind of curled over there. So it looks like it might, kind of come back in, bounce. But we'll see. See how solid that pivot becomes. Nice monthly hammer. Huge engulfing green weekly bar too, so that is very positive for it. The next bar that pierces through it, right? And so the one bar that pierced through it would be this guy here. It's pretty much the inside. So this guy here, right? And then so it went down, and so you do is you look for a breakout over this level, which was 5.5. And so it broke here, kind of, but your stop, you keep your stop, below that piercing bar. Never stopped you out, and then boom, above that bar to the upside. That's called the 2B reversal. 2B, 2 Bravo, right? That would have been a huge move. You did double thing here, then obviously further upside potentially to this 1449. So it's a perfect example of a 2B reversal. So nice one on that. Yeah, 6 red candles. I know exactly. It's a lot of pressure down, But 7 is usually the magic number, right? So WD Gann always talked about 7 being a not a magic number, but like what is it? We'll see. We'll see what it does. Maybe it get a little earnings rally and all that stuff. But we really need to watch to see what earnings does this week to see if it wants to gap up, fill this gap, and give us some action, or if it's just total ruining of it and just starts filling some those gaps below that we talked about earlier. So definitely on the watch list for this week. So I like it. And we have IRM. Another nice cup and handle right there. Let's see what it did. Looks like it's tough to trade. Looks like it stay inside ranges until it does decide to move. I do like how we had an inside month, and it took that inside month to the upside and has a continuation hammer here. So that's good on the monthly. See if we close that way. Nice hammer weekly, right? Nice uptrend too. Inside week, breaks up. Inside week here, breaks to the upside. Like you said, there's kind of a cup and handle forming on a broader cup and handle too. So let's see where it goes. If it wants to come here, consolidate and then break. But it's definitely working its way up. Iron Mountain Inc. I like it. What do they do? I think I've seen this stock before. Either you mentioned it or Boston, Massachusetts. So it's a holding company. That must be nice. Stores records, physical records, backup media, management. Operate 5 segments. Businessman. Love it. Some sort of front company for something. It's like, yeah, I just have a company that stores ideas. Anyway, but yeah, so potential cup and handle firm in there. Really tough. Looks like it's really tough to trade on the hourlies, but it does get some pretty broad moves. And then we've got, let's see, here. Yeah, nice uptrend here, kind of hanging around this median, testing, right? So kind of funky trade, but look to see if it pivots again, see if it comes back down, and then look to go long, on a pullback here to like this 34 area. But yeah, I do like kind of how it's trending. I like it a lot. I'll put an alert there for it. I tell you, I always appreciate you guys, coming up with chart ideas, because it's, it takes long enough just to scan through and kind of study and see what's going on with the FANG stocks. But my whole watch list, it's just not enough time to go through and really thoroughly analyze everything. But they're easy to scan through during the day, on my phone, just kind of see if there's any, unusual movement or anything like that. AMD, I just kind of want to look at this real quick while we're here. That was great trade the other day on the double inside day. So let's see if it keeps handling this pivot support here. It's got a reaction line coming up here. So let's see what it does when it gets there. It might kind of get to that and come its way up, or get there and break down. And then Twitter is my other favorite one to watch. Did this give us an inside 60? It looks like it. I'm gonna add this to the inside 60 anchor list for tomorrow too. Twitter's great to trade, as you guys know, at the open. For the rest of the day, it's usually pretty tough to trade or annoying because it just doesn't like to move. But if you can trade those 60 anchors on that, and we've got one here, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to put 60 anchor on that. Twitter's so fun to trade because you can trade the options trade well and the stock trades well at the open. So if we open in the middle of the range, right, the max risk we have is 24 cents on a break to the upside of this inside 60 to close. AMD did not do an inside 60 for us. Tesla, it was inside weak and then got weak. It's on a lot of short radar here, right? It's been working on this upper end of this pitchfork range here. It does have this reaction line. It could potentially climb up, but it put in kind of a reversal inside weak, type look here. So if it takes that to the downside, obviously I'd look to short it, back down to 323. Of course, if it breaks to the upside, this thing could go to the moon. I mean, certainly it's worth more than Chipotle. What else we got? So Shirley, drip. Hey Steve, how's it going? I'll get to you in just a second. Drip. Nice, another. I just want to know what I'm looking at. Anyway, Portfolio Plus Daily S&P Oil. What are the oil futures looking like, real quick? Yeah, so it must be some sort of inverse. But so you've got so this long-term downtrend, huge, green bar on Friday, green week, big green month, showing up. So this does look like it's getting like a bunch of volume coming in on these bars here. So it looks like it is pushing, right? We've got a weekly uptrend confirmed. Nice, day on Friday. Just put in like a little bit of a, potential shooting star here, so just be careful on that. But a potential break on that to the upside could see, like we said, like some further movement. It's got a bunch of pivots it could take out. 1575, 1934. So I mean, this thing is getting some energy, right? Huge increased volume here as it hit this low of 488. And could continue going. So that's a good one too. Hey Steve, so could you do a video on how to set up your TOS charts and screens? Thanks in advance. Yeah, no problem. I mean, ultimately, here I'll share my workspace. Sure. So try uploading this to your. Oh wait, no, that's not it. That didn't work. Why did it not copy? Okay, there we go. That should go now. Let me post that in YouTube here. Yes, this is that's my workspace in Thinkorswim, and basically all I do is here, right? When you go to Thinkorswim, you click on this guy. This is your grid, and you can select as many grids as you want, right? So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up top and 6 on the bottom. So if I had multiple screens, I would probably spread those out so I could watch them all at one time. But in the meantime, I don't. I just have a laptop I trade off of, right, or my cell phone. And so then once you set up those grids, then you can click on these arrows. And so the top 6, I use all candlesticks from the monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, 30, and 15, right? Because the 15 orbs and the 30 orbs. I don't go much lower than that because I don't have time to dig into the nitty gritty. And then I do bar charts on the bottom 6, right? And I use this for my Elliott wave analysis type stuff. It makes it easier to count, right? And then here, I just, I did a kind of a lesson the other day on RSI, stochastic, and MACD, and so I just kind of kept them up because it is interesting to see what they're all doing. And then, and so I use that for pitchforks, and then just to look for yeah, I use the 15 and 30 here just to get like more fractal wave counts for Elliott wave type counts, things like that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So you have the workspace there I shared. It should have my my watch list and everything like that too. If not, I can share my watch list separately, which is, let me just click that, share watch list, 12, 16. Let me share that too. Okay. And this is the watch list. Yeah, and then Vixie, of course. These are your VIX products and all that stuff. So VIX has been pretty interesting. I read some comments too that on Twitter recently that that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. That the VIX was going down when the market was going down, right? So there we go. That's a good one. So right, so just kind of keep an eye on this one, right? So it's going to kind of slowly just testing this kind of range right here, and it's kind of creeping its way back up. So look to see a breakout here, right? If it breaks out 34.50, break to the upside, could bring some market volatility. Market could go crazy. Then your ultra short ETF there, could get a huge jump, right? So just keep an eye on that. Thanks, Shirley. Yeah, I learned too. I mean, you guys bring up these charts, and I look at them and things I've never seen before. And it helps kind of put, it gives it a little bit better perspective too. I mean, and it makes it more interesting, right? Because, I can sit here and, look at charts all day, but it's really boring, sometimes. There's a couple that I do get interested in, on the FANG list, but kind of going through all of them is really tough. So when you guys come up with chart ideas, it just kind of keeps me interested in the game and all that stuff. So you guys are as big a help too, and can come up with ideas that could help us all make money as well, so, and be successful. So that's always good. What's going on, Giovanni? Always good to see you, man. I hope everybody had an awesome weekend. Let's get some rest here. We have a full week ahead of us, right? So it's going to be a full week before Christmas. Just remember, it could get choppy into the end of the week. Just because the Christmas holiday coming up, not a lot of traders, a lot of people taking vacations, et cetera, but the market hasn't been behaving according to plan. According to plan, we would have had a big Santa Claus rally by now, and that hasn't happened. And so if I'm expecting a choppy market this week, it's probably going to be pretty crazy. So just stay on your toes, be safe, preserve your profits, minimize losses, and learn and journal. Make sure you journal all your stuff, right? All your trades, write them down. At the end of the day, go to your account and look at what trades you made and go back through and analyze what you were thinking, what you did wrong, what you did right. If you made a bad trade, sit down and get your emotions out by writing about it. It'll help you. It really will. It'll help you. It helps me all the time to go back and be like, oh man, what was I thinking? Or like, oh, how did I miss that? Type stuff. And you just get better and better and better. And then when you start seeing it real time, you can react a lot quicker. Right, so that's the key with journaling. All right, let's look at one more before I bounce. DM. Is this Dominion Energy? Yeah, we looked at this before, right? So let's just see how it's going up that channel. Right, so we talked about this. It is still working its way up this channel. Not the easiest thing to trade. Let's go to the hourly and see how that did. So it did put in a new recent high, right? Fill this gap, kind of came back in, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I don't know if we gap up tomorrow, it might be a good shorting opportunity to come back in. So this is so just keep an eye on that channel. And yeah, keep an eye and look for those tweezer setups anytime you see it intraday. So yeah, so we'll just keep watching this one, see what it does. I would like to short it here. I'd like to see it really touch that channel, but it likes to seem to pivot. It might get a more pronounced pivot though at some point. So yeah, alright guys, have a good night. I need to get some sleep, and I'll tweet you tomorrow. I'll put the game plan out tonight, and hope everybody has a great night and an awesome trading day tomorrow. Just remember your risk first, stay safe, minimize losses, and preserve profit. Alright, have a good night. Bye.